friends, welcome to today's Scholars T10 program. In this program, we will be covering top 10 current affairs articles at 10 o'clock. These current affairs articles are covered from various sources like The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, LiveMint, etc. This program will be in two segments. In first segment, we will be covering daily news which are important for both prelims and mains. And second segment, we will be covering 5 articles which are specifically important for prelims in multiple choice questions format. Log on to scholar.in or download Scholar Android app for complete UPSC civil service exam preparation strategies, notes, current affairs materials, mind maps and everything else. Let's begin with our first article of the day. It's about the foundational agreements. Recently, India and United States have entered into basic exchange and cooperation agreement for geospatial cooperation between both the countries. Under this, India will be entitled to receive highly classified US defense and intelligence information. Now, India is also signatory to the US related foundational military agreements. Recently, the United States had entered into foundational or enable agreements with its defense partners. And these agreements govern the nature and scope of US defense partnership with its defense partnership countries like India and Japan. The foundational military pact deepens the ties between India and US and in strategic architecture in the Indo-Pacific region. Let's critically analyze about these agreements. Although, as I said earlier, the foundational agreement with US gives India access to highly classified information, but it is at the cost of strategic autonomy of India. By signing this agreement, India has given up its previous policy of neutrality and maintaining of equidistance from power blocks. However, the new global realities might have made India to sign the agreement in the pragmatic approach, but this agreement may push India deeply into great power rivalry, especially with China. On the other hand, strengthening of the Quad and joining Australia in the Malabar exercises may have been seen India moving into anti-China alliance. But for this agreement to help, India has to strengthen its ties with neighboring countries and also the extended neighborhood countries where China and US are making their inroads. India must also play its role in Afghanistan as we have invested to promote the democracy in that country. India must also use the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to keep in touch with Russia and China. On the other hand, India also needs to revitalize its position in the non-alignment movement. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about Indian Health Service. There has been demand for the creation of Indian Medical Service, that is IMS, similar to other all India services like Indian Administrative Service and Indian Police Service. Now let's understand the need for such a new creation of such new services. There has been low collaboration between center and state with regard to health issues. This has been highlighted by WHO as well, that is World Health Organization. The National Policy for Health 2017 also identifies the decentralization of decision making as one of its key principles. The National Health Policy also recommends augmentation of capacity at the state level. So, the creation of cadre of health services is the first step in that direction. That is the decentralization of decision making and augmenting of state level capacity. In the current system, what happens is doctor enters service through central health service and serve at the central health institution, but they lack any sort of experience in the state, and they also do not they do not serve at the districts like IAS and IPS. So having a specialized service manned by qualified doctors will help improve the health administration and better informed policy making at both center and the state. Now, where lies the way forward? Let's understand about this. Indian Health Service should be constituted on the lines of Indian Economic Service and Indian Forest Service, where applications from with relevant educational background can apply. Health requires multidisciplinary efforts. So selection has to be happen from pool of candidates with degree in medicine, epidemiology, sociology, biostatistics and economics as well. A comprehensive training program in public health health administration, management, and public policy also be introduced for this new if for this health service officials as well. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about land monetization. The central and state governments are facing a dearth of revenue streams because of various issues like lockdowns, drop in economic activities, and a drop in taxes and as well. So the monetization of land assets is a viable option to create to generate revenue for the both the central and state government. The PSUs, that is public sector units, and urban local bodies have huge unutilized or underutilized land that can be monetized. Now let's understand the advantages of land monetization. It can generate revenue for both central and state governments. It puts the land for better use. The commercial development of land accelerates the real estate prospects in the country. It will also fuel the demand for social infrastructure like retail development, banking, hospitals, schools, etc. It will also contribute to the planned urbanization, which is very much lacking in India. It has also potential to boost the tourism and generate employment in India. It has a cascading effect on economic development and the quality of life of citizens. Land leasing can enable the retention of land ownership to the government while also realizing the market rent for the government, which can create the revenue and can have all the advantages of land monetization. Infrastructure serviced land can fetch better value for both central and state governments. But where lies the way forward? The Land Rail Development Authority, which is a statutory body under the Ministry of Railways, is entrusted with the development of vacant railway land for commercial use. The RLDA, that is Rail Land Development Authority, has over 79 sites for leasing, and eligible developers for each will be selected through an open and transparent bid process. Similar organization can be created for all the departments or PSUs which have huge land, and also for the urban local bodies also. Okay. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about midday meal scheme and COVID. India's midday meal scheme program came to halt with the indefinite closures of school due to COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, the report of the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2020, which is released by the Food and Agriculture Organization, shows the India's grim situation about the nutrition status of especially children's. And the recent Global Hunger Index reports for 2020 ranks India at 94 out of 107 countries in the category of serious issue, which is much behind our neighbors, which are Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal. That is, Global Hunger Index is a combination of indicators of undernutrition in the population and wasting, stunning, and mortality in the children below 5 years of the age. According to the midday meal scheme guidelines, a midday meal in India should provide at least 1/3 of the nutritional requirement of the children. So the midday meal scheme plays a very important role in fulfilling the nutritional requirement of the children, specifically in rural areas and vulnerable communities in India. So though the government has announced that ration will be provided even during the closure, but the many state governments have failed to implement it during the lockdowns. There are reports that children are now engaged in labor to supplement the fall of family incomes because of the COVID-19 situation as well. And this has also accelerated the drop rates of school going children in India. So to bring back the children to the school and revitalize the midday meal scheme, some innovative strategies are required. It includes like involvement of small land holding farmers in the midday meal scheme, procurement of locally produced vegetables and fruits which can be added to midday meal scheme, which can also provide income to local farmers. There are also new initiatives in some states like school nutrition or kitchen garden under midday meal scheme program to provide fresh vegetables for midday meals. These innovative strategies can be implemented all over India as well. Now let's move on to another article. It's about bad banks. Indian public sector banks are caught in a perpetual cycle of bad loans, especially PSBs, that is public sector banks, which are unlikely to emerge from the COVID-19 crisis without being affected of this economic uncertainty or economic loss, that is unscratched. Has a healthy banking system is very much vital for the post-COVID economic recovery. So the business as usual approach will not be seen optimal, especially with respect to PSBs. So let me tell you what is bad bank. A bad bank is set up to buy the bad loans or the NPAs or stretched asset from another financial institutes like banks, and these bad banks will buy those NPAs or stretched assets, and they liquidize those assets and get earn money from them. Now let's understand the need for bad banks. The insolvency and bankruptcy court process takes an average of 340 days for resolution purpose. This long resolution, that is almost a year resolution, amplifies the second order effects of the stressed assets. Due to this, bank capital reduces and resolution uncertainty tends banks to turn them risk averse. So the banks does not take more risk averse or lend to the long term projects. So to address these issues, a bad bank can be created as a mechanism, because this will allow PSBs to offload their stressed assets in an equitable manner so they can resume their lending activities at the earliest possible time. But there are some issues with that. Let's critically analyze about the bad banks. The transfer of stressed assets from a bad bank will lead to capital write-downs in some banks, and government will be forced to recapitalize them further. Again, the bad bank can, if the bad banks is the government funded, then another government funded and owned bank is unlikely to do a better job of managing the mismanagement assets of another government owned banks. It will be like transferring of from one government owned institution to another government owned institution. So what are the suggestions are like? A bad bank should be funded by private capital and managed by specialists who focus on maximum recovery without political concerns and dependency. PSBs may not be incentivized to sell their loans to bad banks, as they might be investigated for their judgment. A well-capitalized, professionally managed and time-bound bad bank could elevate asset quality-related risk aversion among Indian PSBs as well. So now let's move on to our next segment. It's about current affairs based on MCQs. The first question of the day is: consider the following statement regarding National Program and Project Management Framework. It is an initiative of Niti Aayog and Quality Control Council of India. It is aimed at bringing reforms in infrastructure project execution. Which of the above statements is or are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, neither one nor two. And the answer is C, both 1 and 2. National Program and Project Management Framework was launched by Niti Aayog and also Quality Council of India to bring radical reforms in the way infrastructure projects are executed in our India. The policy action plan includes adopting a program and project management approach to infra development in the country, institutionalize and promote the professional of program and project management and build a workforce of such professionals in country, enhance institutional capacity and capability of professionals, and this framework would help in smoothing the execution of infrastructure projects, where India is planning to invest around $4.5 trillion by 2040. Let's move on to our next question. Kumar Sakshatkaran Yojana is an initiative of A. Khadi and Village Industries Commission, B. Science and Engineering Research Board, C. Petroleum and Safety Explosive Organization, D. None of the above. And the answer is A. Khadi and Village Industrial Commission. Kumar Sakshatkaran Program of Khidar Initiative of Khadi and Village Industrial Commission is for the empowerment of potters community in the country. The benefits of the program includes like training for advanced pottery products, usage of new technological equipments, market linkages, and visibility of true KVIC exhibitions through which the pottery products are exhibited in various parts of the country. It leads to more production with less hour of work, thus increasing productivity and less power consumption, and also smooth transition to the higher speed. KVIC, that is Khadi and Village Industrial Commission, is a statutory body established through the KVIC Act 1956 under the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. The main function of the KVIC is planning, promotion, organization and implementation of program for the development of Khadi and other village industries in rural areas in coordination with the other agencies, including the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. Let's move on to our next quiz. Consider the following statement regarding Operation Meri Sahel. It is an initiative of Railway Protection Force. This initiative promotes ease of ticket booking for women at the railway counters. Which of the above statements is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, D. neither 1 nor 2. And the answer is A. 1 only. It is an initiative of Railway Protection Force for the safety and security of women passenger. So statement 1 is correct. This strategy involves interaction of women RPF personnel with women passengers who are traveling alone. So statement 2 is incorrect. The statement 2 tells about promoting ease of ticketing. No, it's not about ease of ticketing. The passengers will be briefed about all the precautions to be taken during the journey and take recourse to dial 182 in case of emergencies. The RPF team collects seat numbers of such women passengers who would be passed on the further destination RPF person to keep a close watch on them. After the end of the journey, a feedback is collected from the women passenger and corrective action is taken if required. Let's move on to our next quiz. IAS Hackathon is organized under which of the following mission or schemes? Yuvika scheme, Vikram Sarabhai Centenary Program, Atal Innovation Mission or Kishore Vigyanik Protsahan Yojana? And the answer is C, Atal Innovation Mission. IAS is a hackathon organized by the Atal Innovation Mission on Circular Economy. IAS stands for India Australia Circular Economy Hackathon. The primary objective of this hackathon is address the challenges of the circular economy by providing solutions to eliminate and reuse waste. The hackathon will be organized under 4 themes, that is innovation in reducing packaging waste, innovation in food supply chains, avoiding waste and creating opportunities for plastic waste reduction, recycling critical energy metals and e-waste management. AIM, that is Atal Innovation Mission, is an initiative of Niti Aayog to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in India. They develop new programs and policies for fostering innovation in different sectors of the economy. It also provides platform and collaboration opportunities for different stakeholders. Let's go on to our last quiz of the day. Electric Access and Utility Benchmark Program report is released by A. Ministry of Coal, B. Bureau of Energy Efficiency, C. Niti Aayog, D. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And the answer is C. Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog, Ministry of Power, Rockefeller Foundation and Smart Power India has launched the Electricity Access and Benchmarking Distribution Utilities Report. This report is aimed at capturing insight from both the demand, that is electrical consumers, and supply side, that is electrical distribution utilities. The report evaluates the status of electricity access in India across the states and benchmarking utilities from capacity to provide electricity access. It also provided recommendation for enhancing sustainable electricity access in India. So that's it, friends. Thank you for watching today's session. I'll be back on Friday at 10 o'clock with 10 fresh news articles in the same format. Good night, friends.